Welcome to Global Village Square, where every story carries a lesson and every lesson shapes a life. Let's begin. She walked into the most important meeting of her life, and the first thing she did was tell them the bad news. By the end of this story, you'll understand why the hardest part of telling the truth has nothing to do with the words you speak. In the next few minutes, you'll meet a young woman who fought a war inside herself and discovered what every generation eventually has to learn about honesty. This story has been told in marketplaces, village squares, and courtrooms since humans first began to trade. Because the oldest battle on Earth is not between nations, it is between the two voices inside you. One says, tell them what they want to hear. The other whispers, tell them what is true. We live in an age of polished statistics and carefully dressed stories. We have learned to shape the truth like soft clay. But what if the cost of that skill is the one thing no deal can ever replace? Let's step back and meet a young woman who decided to find out. Her name was Amarachi. She was the apprentice to her father, a businessman whose empire was built not on lies exactly, but on what he called flexible truths. From the time she was a small girl, she sat in the corners of boardrooms, watching him weave intricate webs of exaggeration. To the world, he was a master negotiator. To Amarachi, he was a man slowly losing his way. One evening, she gathered the courage to ask him about the things she had seen. He did not offer her wisdom. He offered her a warning. The marketplace is a battlefield. Honesty is a luxury we cannot afford. But Amarachi carried a different treasure in her heart. The final words of her grandfather whispered to her before he passed. Child, nothing in this world shines as brightly as a life lived with integrity. And one morning, she decided to test the weight of that treasure. She made herself a quiet promise. For one full day, every word she spoke in her father's store would be the absolute truth. But the habit of the world is a heavy cloak to shed. Her first customer asked about the longevity of a product. Her voice was steady, her intention was clear. And yet, before she could catch it, a small, familiar lie slipped out of her mouth like water through cupped hands. She tried again and again. With each new prospect, she found herself dressing a figure, polishing a statistic, softening a fact. Inside her, two bears had awakened. One was dark, fed by fear and the voice that said, if you tell them the raw truth, you will have nothing. The other was white, fed by faith and the voice that whispered, the truth is enough. You are enough. By afternoon, she had closed no deals. Her father's warnings hung around her neck like a stone, and the dark bear was winning. And here's where most people would have quit. But the day wasn't over yet. As the sun began to dip, casting long orange shadows across the office floor, Amarachi looked at her schedule. One meeting remained, and it was the most important of the day. A room full of seasoned investors, men who looked for cracks in a story the way wolves look for a scent on the wind. The room was cold, the air stagnant with skepticism. For minutes that felt like hours, she was grilled. Every figure she presented was scrutinized, every claim challenged. Then the moment came. The quarterly numbers. The ones that showed a dip. The ones that could sink everything. And in her mind, the dark bear roared. Embellish it, just a little. Round the number up. Soften the fall. If you tell them the raw truth, they will stand up and walk out of this room, and you will have nothing. She could feel her pulse in her throat. She could feel her father's words pressing down on her shoulders. And this is the moment every one of us eventually arrives at. The moment where fear tells us the truth is too expensive, where the easier word sits on the edge of our tongue, waiting. Amarachi leaned into the silence. She looked at the men across the table, and she chose the harder path. She spoke the truth, unvarnished, plain. She admitted the flaws in the data. She offered no excuses, only the reality of the work. The silence that followed was deafening. Then one investor, a man whose eyes held the weariness of many years in the trade, slowly nodded. He did not just invest, he committed to partnership, because he had seen 1,000 perfect pitches, and for the first time in a long time, he had found something rare, a partner he could trust. Now here is what this story is really about. The hardest part of telling the truth is not speaking it, it is deciding to.
Whether you are 8 or 80, wherever you live in the world, you have stood in that cold room. Maybe it was a boardroom. Maybe it was a kitchen table. Maybe it was a quiet conversation with someone you loved. You have felt the dark bear roar. You have heard the soft whisper that said, "Dress it up, just a little. No one will know." And somewhere inside you, another voice has whispered back, "But I will."
As a child, you spoke truth without thinking. As you grew, the world taught you to polish it. Your grandparents wrestled with this. Your children will wrestle with it too. So, what can we carry from this? For the young, just starting out, the reward for a polished lie is smaller than you think. The reward for a plain truth is larger than you can imagine. For those in the middle, carrying the weight, every flexible truth you tell adds to a debt only you will pay. Every honest word you speak builds something no one can take from you. For the elders, looking back on the road, teach the ones behind you that integrity is not softness. It is the strongest thing a person can carry into any room. And for all of us, the world does not always reward the loudest voice or the slickest lie. Sometimes it waits in silence for the person brave enough to be real. Remember, the truth does not need to be dressed. It only needs to be spoken. This was true in the marketplaces of our ancestors. It is true in the boardrooms of today, and it will be true long after we are gone.
If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. When was the last time your dark bear tried to speak for you, and what did you choose? Subscribe, more timeless stories are on the way. Until next time, may your story be worth telling.
You have just stepped into the global village, where stories connect us all. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Join us again for the next story that inspires.